Okay, so I'll tell you this. The province says that one-time costs and closing costs are not always the same. And I've asked them, can you please give me a list of both so that I can teach you guys properly? They haven't replied. So until that happens, I will just say these are all the same. One time is also closing costs. And on the exam, if they ask for one time or closing and you give me something that is in here, I will mark it right. Okay, I don't care what happens. So until they tell us otherwise, I'm just gonna say they are the same. So one time or closing costs, okay, it has to do with the startup costs of, like, when you buy a home, things are happening. The seller is wrapping up their end of things with a lawyer, and you are starting up things on your end with your lawyer. But collectively, we call them one-time costs or closing costs. You're closing the deal, okay? So the biggest expense when purchasing a house or condo will be your down payment, right? So there's no doubt about it that the biggest amount of money that you need to save up for is your down payment. It's 5%. However, it is recommended that you save up, listen carefully, save up an additional 2 to 4% for the initial startup costs. So how much are we talking about then, folks? If it's 5%, and let's say we take the highest here, the 4%, you're saving up 9%, right? So let's say 10% just to be safe. 10% of 400,000, that's 40 grand that you should be saving up. That's a lot of money. So here's a list of potential initial costs, which I also refer to closing costs. Okay, so very important. You should listen to at least 80% of these are going to be something that you will come across if you buy a home. Home inspection fees. Okay, before you make a decision to purchase. Okay, before you make a decision to purchase a home, it is highly recommended that you have the house inspected by a professional building inspector. Okay? In your contract, in your offer, when you say, hey, I want to buy this house, I really like it, you should always have a little clause, and if you have a good lawyer, they're going to tell you to do that anyways. You will always say, I want to buy this house, yada, yada, yada. I want this, I want the garage, I want the fridge, stove, all of those things. But you will say, pending inspection. Like, you're basically saying, I will buy this house if the inspector goes through the house and doesn't find anything major that is wrong with the house. So let's say a foundation issue, big problem. Wiring issue, aluminum wiring, guys, don't buy a house that has aluminum wiring, because most insurance companies will not insure the house. And then you're in trouble, because banks won't give you a loan until you have insurance. And so what's the problem with aluminum? Does anybody know what the problem is with aluminum wiring? There's always, every once in a while I have a student that knows. It's the fact that aluminum wiring gets hot really, really fast. So if you have like a heater going and a toaster on the same circuit, it can start a fire very easily, because you're overheating the wiring, and that causes a fire because the wire is running along wood, right? So that's why aluminum wiring is a big no-no, okay? Appraisal fee, that's another one. When lending money, the lender, this is on page 33, the lender must determine the value of the property. That's what an appraisal fee is. So most banks will not give you the money just blindly. It's like, here you go, buy your house. They'll be like, wait a minute, is it actually worth what you're trying to pay for it? Right? They want to make sure that you're not overpaying. I got to go a little faster. Those two are definitely a good one. The other one is land transfer tax. This is a huge one. You are required to pay this tax to the Manitoba Land Titles Office. More on this later, but have this on your study sheet under one-time/closing costs. Please don't leave until we're done here, okay? Or at least don't pack yet. There's something called the survey certificate, okay? And a surveyor will charge approximately $300 to survey the property. What does that mean? Basically determines the boundaries. So let's say your previous owner built a fence, but your property line is actually further to your house. Your neighbor may ask you to rip out the fence and move it over a foot. So a survey certificate makes sure that everything is within your boundary lines, okay? Lawyer fees, I think everybody can probably wrap their head around that, but you need a good lawyer when you're making a transaction like that, okay? Because guess what? The money doesn't just go from you to the person. It's like it goes through the lawyers, okay? That's another one. Keep going on page 34. Here's another one. Moving expenses. That is considered a one-time for sure. And I think we'll leave it. Is there one on the back side? No, that's it. I will also ask you to highlight these two here. They're important. Interest adjustment, okay, and property tax adjustment. What that basically is saying is that you might have to pay the previous owner some back that they have already paid, okay? So basically, the annual taxes that have been paid by the seller, you will need to reimburse the seller for that share, for your share of that property taxes. That's what property taxes adjustment would be. And the interest is you pay 1 month's interest to your lawyer when you take possession of your home. Okay, so that gets given, that is passed on to the previous owner, because there's a period of time where they're not getting paid and they're supposed to get interest on that money that they're waiting for. So you're paying that there. How many should you have? I would say 4 on your study sheet. 4 one-time costs to be added to your study sheets. Okay, 4 one-time / closing costs. And if you don't believe me, here's an old exam. Here you go, ready? It's asking, state whether the following would be a one-time or ongoing expenses. Mortgage payment. Is that a one-time or does it keep going? Ongoing. Hiring movers? One time. We consider it one time. Land survey? One time. We just talked about it. Right here. Survey. Survey certificate, land survey, same thing. So if you know these, if you have a list, then you'll know. Okay? Bless you.